Hello everyone. Welcome back. It is February and we are going to be jumping into the intuitive forecast first and then the astro forecast second. The astro forecast is going to be massive. If you're going to listen to any astro forecast, I would say maybe to listen to this one, but also maybe not because you're going to get overwhelmed. But if later this month you're like, what the hell is going on? You could definitely come back to the astro forecast for an explanation. And I wanted to again give a shout out to Otter Spirit for these awesome bracelets. We just wrapped up the in-bulk retreat that I was doing this weekend, and I just have to say I felt called to just put these on for the retreat. Like I felt like I had a really awesome time leading those in-bulk virtual retreats, and I kind of feel like because I was wearing this every day, I kind of imbued that energy into these bracelets. And they were the Divine Feminine bracelets, and we were working with Bridget, and I don't know, I just feel like now this kind of holds that energy. And that's a little bit of why I picked them the first time, is I wanted to bring more of that divine feminine and intuition into my year this year. And this is something that you get with the bracelets when you get them. Again, I'm going to put my discount code in the link in the description down below for you if you want to get your own. But I forgot to mention last time, they also like have a size guide. I have like really small wrists, and I loved that I could actually like size it out before I got it. And like each bracelet has 3 different versions so that you can actually make sure it fits your wrist. So anyways, I was just like trying to find all my black crystals. Apparently this is all the black crystals that I have. And I went into my bedroom and grabbed this massive one because I was just like, I feel like we need protection this month. And yeah, get yourself some black tourmaline if you don't have some already. Let's see, what's the energy we are working with? That's kind of funny because today's Groundhog Day, the day that I'm reading this on. Okay, wake up, dear one, from the slumber you find comfort in. The truth is seeking those ready to acknowledge it. Oof, okay. February, I feel like this is a rude awakening. I feel like what this is, February, I mean, there's a positive side to it, but this is like, those who haven't woken up are going to wake up. And this is being comfortable in that sleep and being forced to wake up. There's areas of our life this month where we want to stay comfortable, we want to keep our eyes shut, we want to stay warm and cozy, but we're being asked to see the truth. We're being asked to acknowledge it. This card is asking us to be alert. This card suggests a feeling of being blindsided, such as when you experience an unexpected betrayal, when in truth the threat has been in front of you all along. Perhaps you have chosen not to see it, or your attention is trained on something else. Either way, the truth is coming to light now. You can choose to continue to hide from what is in front of you, therefore facing delayed pain and heartache, or you can face it, heal, and move on to a much healthier and jovial time. Yeah, wow. Like, I won't sugarcoat this, y'all. Like, I'm trying to be open to all interpretations of this. I feel like we know what this is. Like, I feel like this is a much more collective month. I feel like those who haven't woken up to what's happening in the world are going to. And if you haven't and don't want to and are kind of still ignoring it, I have and hold compassion for the people out there, but I think the best thing you can do is try to pay attention to what Spirit is saying so that you're not living underground or under a rock anymore, because living under a rock is not serving a purpose. What is around the corner for all of us is going to affect all of us. And that is something that I will be covering in my next political podcast. But the more research I've done, the more dream work I've done, the more psychic work I've done with Anna and her podcast, I'm asking if this is the appropriate place to share. the more we need to be having conversations with the people around us about what's to come. I see. And I think as intuitive people, a lot of us are into all of this. A lot of you are watching my stuff. A lot of you are watching your own astrology. You might get subtle hints of what's coming. And the reason why you're being given that information is so you can prep and forewarn those around you. And I think this is like you're being woken up so you can prepare those around you. Because the people that are attracted to my stuff are those who are more intuitive. I'm getting these messages, you're getting these messages, and it's now time to fulfill our roles. I did not expect this to go this direction. Okay. Anything else, Spirit? I mean, this could absolutely be happening in our personal lives as well. We're waking up to things and truths that we need to see in our own personal lives. Let's see exactly how this is showing up with some tarot. So as I'm editing, I realized that I read the Seven of Wands as the Six of Wands. So I'm just throwing a voiceover in here to change that interpretation. The Seven of Wands is conflict. It is literally having to defend your position, stand up for your beliefs, and having courage against opposition. So with this Groundhog card that's asking us to wake up, see things, and understand the truth of things, we're like not being met with reception. You know, it's not being well received, and we're having to defend our position, which is going to make it a little bit harder than we would like it to be. You know, I will say that it's interesting because the Astro dice that I pulled over here, I got Pluto in Aries in the 10th house. So there is like some big transformation and push and drive in your career this month. To some extent, you're waking up to a role that you have this month, you know, whether it be what I was talking about earlier, like within the collective, or within your career. It's somewhere in your life. It's somewhere that you're going to have to do the inner work around, because the Queen of Wands invites us to examine, what are you passionate about? What are you excited about? That doesn't always have to be creativity. It can be creativity. It can be your work. So for many of us, this might be work. Or for others, it could just be like the things you're literally passionate about, you know, justice, rights. Like the Queen of Wands usually represents somebody who's like a leader, who's courageous, who's socially like popular. There is this element of like social circles. It could be your family, it could be your work, it could be your neighbors. There is some sort of recognition. There's a waking up, you're being seen in your circles. People are waking up and seeing you for who you are in your circles, or you are waking up to like the new role you want to have. Yeah, something is emerging within you. Something is coming to the surface, a leadership role. You know, it makes sense with later Saturn moving into Aries. It is this like fire, passion, energy. And understand that you might have to defend your position. You're going to have to stand up for yourself and be courageous, because you might get pushback. You might get criticism. You're going to have to stand your ground. I would go look up the original picture for the Seven of Wands. It's like, it's struggle, it's defiance, a need for integrity and conviction. That's what's being asked of you. The hardest part of this month is just going to be not listening to the fear. This card talks about like staying vigilant, help is on the way, trust that your spiritual team is removing obstacles for you. And while you may not feel it, you are being protected. So the hardest part of this month is there's a lot of things that are happening that are definitely causing you to feel afraid, but help is on the way and you are protected. Okay, wow. And then the card, I try really hard not to like mix in and make sure that I'm not like, you know, I'm reading the energy for what it is, but this is speaking to the collective pretty well this month. Because I'm asking like, how do we have a great month? And this is talking about creating from a very independent place. Like bringing your spirit and what you can contribute in a way that is true to you. Because everyone does that in a different way. Like some of us create art, some of us create podcasts, some of us, you know, help others and show up in community and help with our skills or, you know, feed others. Okay, I'm like literally, I'm not making this up. This card literally says, this card can mean getting more involved in a cause you believe in. Is there an injustice that is troubling you? Perhaps it's time for you to speak up, as you may have a perspective and potential ideas that could make all the difference in someone's life. Like this card also has the meaning of like creating arts and crafts and like using your skills and talents to be of service, which that could absolutely apply with like the career side of this. And I do feel like these are kind of weaving together. Like I feel like the message personally for me is like I can create and help through my skill of, you know, podcasting, video making, you know, that's my area of expertise and spreading the word that way. But other people might be better at making signs or making food or, you know, whatever it may be, or showing up to protests. Like there's so many different ways you can contribute. And it doesn't all have to look the same. There is this like sense of independence about this. And again, with like all these wands cards and waking up, there is this like energy of like separating from the herd and having these realizations and doing what feels true to you. If we're not feeling clear with our psychic abilities this month, feel free to pick up a pen and try automatic writing. Sometimes when things are really unclear or you're just feeling super blocked, sometimes it's easier to write for sure. You can also go back and re-watch our replay of the In Bulk retreat that we did. Even though it's past, it's totally rewatchable. Anything else we need to know about this month? Conquer. All right, what are we conquering? What are we conquering? Oh my god. I kind of love that though. I kind of love that. Hell yeah. We're conquering the tower. The tower is coming. If you couldn't already guess from the length of the astrology portion of this that I haven't already recorded that I know I'm going to record. The tower is falling apart. The foundation is crumbling. We're having a tower moment, but it's not conquering us. Not us individually. Yes, us as a society, it's here to reset, to change. But we need to focus on how do we overcome the tower moment. And I think the answer is in a lot of these cards. It's waking up, accepting what needs to be acknowledged, feeling the stirrings, the emotions, the shadow work that needs to be done underneath, leading where you feel called, doing the inner work around where you feel passionate, and showing up based on those passions in the ways that you feel called, in the skills, in the appropriate ways that you feel like you can show up, and remembering that you are safe and you are protected, and that help is on the way. It's just fear. It's just fear. I just pulled a card. I was like, how do I not scare them? Or do I tell them the truth? And they said, it's just fear. It's just fear. I just pulled a card. Personal life, collectively. Our personal life, things might be actually falling apart, which kind of mirrors what's going on collectively. And I think it's interesting because the Queen of Rings, this is like Queen of Pentacles. I pulled it in reverse. I do get the sense of like collapse or like money collapse. Like there's too much weight. There's too much pressure on the system and it's collapsing. And I wonder if it affects it monetarily. But like I don't feel like our life is necessarily, like our personal lives are necessarily falling apart. Like our lives are kind of like transforming like in a huge way, but it's not like if this weren't going on, it would be manageable, but still pretty stressful. But this just feels like, you know, the death card, death, rebirth. We got to clean out the old to welcome in the new. But we're managing both at the same time. We're juggling a lot this month. Just know that at any time this month, you are welcome to reach out to me for a private reading. All the decks that I used are down below. And at any time that you need community this month, please join the Psychic Development Society. We truly have a wonderful group of people. Whether or not you join the membership, you know, we have people chatting with each other, supporting each other, and it's truly grown into a really supportive place. And I'm really proud of the energy that we've created there. And if you need people to talk to, please join us. Because it's going to be an emotional one. All right, let's move to the astrology. Oh, dear God. Where do I start? Look, all these February notes and then spilled water on it. All right, friends, I'm going to do my best to get through February and get through it in order. Bear with me. There is a lot. But, I mean, this is the most amount of like things happening in a single month this year, and it's probably one of 2 to 3 most volatile months of the year, July and October being the next. Yeah, I got my honeycomb journal in, and I actually got it printed from them this time around. I'm very excited about this. February is monumental. That is one of the keywords. You are busy and the news is busy. We just had Neptune move back into Aries, and Neptune is going to be here for a long time. Again, I covered that in January, what house it should be affecting, how long it's going to be there. That's super important, but just know it's not moving back. That is now 2 of our 4 outer planets done and in their permanent position. So I hope you paid attention to what was going on this day when it ingressed into Aries. Feel free to let me know down in the comments while you're listening to me what happened. Also, please comment, like, throw up random emojis too. I've been getting so many comments saying that my videos are not showing up for people anymore. And so I think that, I don't know what's going on. So any engagement just helps tell YouTube that, you know, you like this and you want to see more of my videos. On top of that, we have all of these planets in Aquarius, a stellium in Aquarius. Any kiddos born right now are going to be crazy little Aquariuses. And so I mention this because essentially as these planets start moving forward, we're going to get a lot of them squaring Uranus. So there's going to be a lot of Uranus squares happening throughout the month. I'm not going to go super in detail with all of them. I'm just going to jot them down maybe on the side quickly. But just know that anything square Uranus means, you know, Uranus, unexpected surprises, snafus, disruptions. And when it's squaring that planet, did I say sign? Sorry. It's like, you know, that theme of that planet, Mercury, communication, disruptions, Venus, you know, issues with like dates or getting together with the women in your life or something. So just to let you know now, that's going to be happening the 5th, the 8th, 15th, and 27th, all those squares. And one last note about January. Unfortunately, from the astrology people that I follow, January and the things that were happening and just everything sort of confirmed a lot of like the worst case scenario fears that we have moving forward. And I'm going to not be covering that here today. I am going to be covering that in my next political podcast that will be uploaded to YouTube and my Practical Psychic podcast, wherever you get podcasts. So if you want to see kind of my updated predictions around that, definitely check them out. Any predictions related to February, I'm going to share here, but I have a lot more for the rest of the year that I want to cover that I think are incredibly important. And like, I'm getting like, I'm having a hard time because I'm getting such an incredible sense of urgency to share these messages, but I don't want to fearmonger, and I'm having a hard time striking that balance. And so I'm trying to like let people know like it's important for me to share these, but also like I'm legitimately not trying to scare you. I'm trying to forewarn those who are genuinely in belief that, you know, some of these things could happen and want to be forewarned. But I'll just leave it at that. Keep an eye out for my next political podcast. My goal is to have a dreaming meditation up next, and then that hopefully be followed by the political podcast. That might be flopped, not sure. But just know I also go on Anna's podcast, the Soul Driven podcast, and we talk once a month about the predictions that we are getting, and they're much more timely. And I will tell you that first month that we did it in December, it was nuts because the things we were predicting just like came true. And we, it'll probably be released at the very same time that this video is released, but our January one is going to come out. And it's, you know, behind the scenes, I'm already seeing some of the things we recorded already come to pass. So if you're legitimately interested in my political US global predictions, and you want to know everything I'm picking up, watch my forecast videos, watch my podcast with Anna, and watch my political Practical Psychic podcast for it all. All right, February 1st, we have a full moon in Leo. So this is already passed, but I still want to reiterate, hopefully some of you were paying attention, writing down notes, because this full moon in Leo is a precursor to the Leo eclipse that is going to happen in August, which I am going to be in Ireland, and I totally didn't plan this, but so I am in theory going to be in Ireland on August 12th on the Leo eclipse, and this last weekend on Imbolc on the Leo full moon, I did the first virtual retreat for the Psychic Development Society, but I also combined it with our Ireland trip, and I didn't realize it was the same exact full moon, and so it makes me really excited, and I thought it was very ironic. It was like, okay, yep, I'm doing it then, and I'm going to do it in the future. We're going to be leading retreats. I'm going to be walking people through connecting to their abilities, and again, it probably seems like, yeah, no duh, but it was not planned. I just chose that weekend randomly because it was like a good weekend for me to do it. And it was Imbolc, but I didn't realize the full moon in Leo was at the same time. What you need to know about this full moon, it's opposite all of these planets in Aquarius. And so, you know, it kind of revealed to us all of the things that these planets were doing in Aquarius in January for us in that sector of our chart. And it's kind of showing us like, where are we headed from all of those seeds that we planted? Collective versus like singular themes, because Leo is very much about like you. Aquarius is very much about everyone else. And so there's a lot of those themes around like, how do I stand in my full ownership? You know, how do I be more seen, stuff like that. And again, you should have seen this in your Leo sector of your chart. So let me just pull that chart up really fast. So if you're an Aries rising, this would have been in your 5th house, Taurus 4th, Gemini 3rd, Cancer 2nd, Leo 1st, Virgo 12th, Libra 11, Scorpio 10, Sagittarius 9, Capricorn 8, Aquarius 7, and Pisces 6. So just for an example, for me, it's in my 12th house. And so I was doing all of this spiritual, like leading people into their mind, doing all of this deep inner work, helping them connect to their guides and gods. On February 3rd, we have Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. So it's still in Taurus. It's making its way back to Gemini. This is the last station that it's doing in Taurus. And if you watch my podcast where I talked about like stations, retrogrades, ingresses, egresses, all of that, you know, I talked about how anytime you see like station direct, station retrograde, that basically is an emphasis. It puts an exclamation mark on that planet in that sign for you. So you have to look at where Taurus is in your chart, and essentially try to pay attention what happens around that day so that you can kind of see what has Uranus been doing in Taurus for you the last like 7 years. And so for a lot of us, even me included, I didn't pay attention when Uranus was moving into Taurus because I wasn't paying attention to astrology. So I'm extra looking at when it stations direct on this day. So yeah, it's going to be the very last indication of like really strong indication of what this is doing in Taurus for you, besides like if you were to go and look at the whole and if you had really good notes on it, which a lot of us sometimes don't. But just know now it's moving forward. It's not done, you know, it's not done in Taurus. It still has a lot of time up until April for it to be working through Taurus and teach you some final lessons before it moves into Gemini. And we'll get there in April. But so for Uranus stationing direct, Uranus is revolution. It's surprising things. It's shocking things. It's shakeups. It's rebellions. Again, this started in about 2018 or 2019 for you. This is like the final word, the final closing statement, or the final closing argument before it really wraps up its full, you know, speech in April. It's locking in these stories. The last time it did anything important in Taurus was November 7th. For those of you who really want to keep good notes of 2025. So maybe if you kept good notes, you would have known what happened around that time. You know, it's interesting because this is associated with my 9th house, which is higher education. And I went back and I tracked it, and it's heavily associated with my old video production company. And on November 7th, my husband and I just decided randomly, unexpectedly, to go through and clean our garage and get rid of like half of our equipment and start selling it because, you know, we're not using our business as much anymore. We're pivoting, we're doing new businesses, and we're just trying to make room. So again, closing out a chapter. And there's some other things that happen, but again, just an example with that 9th house for me, and what it kind of like represented. All right, moving to our Uranus squares. I'm just going to put these off to the side because I want you to know they're pretty big, but at the same time, they're not as important as some of the other stuff. And so I just want you to like visually understand that. So on the 5th, Uranus squares Mercury. And again, with all of these, it's just like all month, Uranus is making wildly unexpected curveballs, disruptions, things coming out of left field. So like that's a lot of why February is so stressful, is these Uranus squares are just, I mean, it's not stressful because some of these could be good, but it's just a lot of things that are surprising, and it's like, what is happening? What is going on? And it's all happening in Aquarius. And so this Aquarius house gets so much activity in this first half of the month. And so on the 5th with Mercury, that means tech communication disruptions usually. So wouldn't be surprised if you're having email issues, Zoom issues. Just be aware of that ahead of time. Awesome. I'm not going to write this down, but then on the 6th, Mercury moves into Pisces. And Mercury is going to be in Pisces for a really long time, until April 14th. And really why I'm mentioning that is because we're going to have a Mercury retrograde later. And so you're just going to get really familiar with Mercury in Pisces. All right, and now we go to the 8th, and we've got Venus making her square to Uranus. So with this, again, it's like a kind of a better disruption. How I heard it described is like, it could be that there's something unexpected with like a woman in your life, like maybe you have a date and the plans change, but then maybe something new and better, you know, comes to pass because of the way you had to like change it, which is hilarious because I'm literally hanging out with some girls this weekend on that 8th. And so I'm like, I wonder if like something's going to come up and we're going to have to change our plans or something. We'll see. So on the 9th, eclipse season starts in the sense that we are 1 week away from the eclipse. And usually you can feel the eclipse and start to see the effects of it 1 week before and 1 week after. So that's why I'm mentioning it here. So yeah, just keep in mind, right around the 9th, you're going to get a lot of that build up to the first of our 2 eclipses. And then on the 10th, again, I'm not going to write this one down, but it's still important. I mean, Venus moves into Pisces, and Venus is in its exaltation in Pisces, which means it really loves being there. And this is really good too, because Venus is basically like coming into Pisces, which has had Saturn and Neptune in it for so long, and it's going to be there to just give a lot of sweetness and awesomeness to that house that's just been having a lot of hardship. So this is normally a really good transit, and it will have a good effect, but with all the other things happening, you might not be able to feel like it's really counteracting anything. We're getting through it. Then on the 11th, what happens is we start to get into the shadow period of Mercury going retrograde. I honestly haven't noticed the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, but I'm still mentioning it because I trust the astrologers I listen to. But basically, it's kind of like you start to see, again, similar with eclipse season, where you start to see the effects of it before it actually starts to happen. And it's more of a degree thing. It's more of a sign thing. So like if you're really wanting to pay attention to the Mercury retrograde cycles, just know it really kind of like that shadow period starts on that day. There's like a shadow period, then the official day that it starts, and then there's the midpoint, the Kazemi, and then there's the end point, and then there's the shadow point again where it like falls off. Then we get to our major big one on February 13th. Saturn leaving Pisces and moving back into Aries. It already did this last summer. It dipped in Aries for just a half a minute, and we got a preview of it. And now it is fully back into Aries with Neptune, and there's a lot of things with this. First being, we get some relief in the Pisces sector of our chart. You know, Saturn is restriction. It's asking us to be mature, disciplined. We don't like doing that. You know, sometimes it's hard, especially when it's a 2.5-year transit. And so we're finally getting relief in the Pisces sector of our chart. This is my 7th house of one-on-one relationships. So this is my marriage. This is my relationship with my one-on-one clients. I'm so excited to have this house clear finally. So look to where Pisces is in your chart. Let me know in the comments down below what house it's in, because you're finally getting some relief in that sector of your chart. The bad news about this is now you're getting Saturn and Neptune in a new area. But hey, you can handle it, especially because Saturn moves a lot faster than Neptune. So this will only be here for 2.5 years, and then it'll separate and it'll be good. The harder part comes in a couple more days, but we'll get there. We're not there yet. So Saturn in Aries, folks, if you natally have Saturn in Aries, you are now in your Saturn return territory. Again, you would have had a tiny taste of this last summer already. If you were paying attention, I think it was like July, August, we would have, or no, it was, you know, you would have gotten a little taste of this, but now you are fully here with Saturn in Aries for the next 2.5 years, until it gets all the way over here into Taurus, and it'll dip out, and then it'll dip back in just a tiny bit, until it's fully done in about like 2.5 years, about till April 2028. Now, even if you don't have Saturn natally in Aries, it's still in this sector of your chart. For me, this is my 8th house. So you kind of have to pivot and say, okay, where am I getting this confusion, disillusionment, restrictions, in what sector, what new house, what area of my life? Now, the great thing about Saturn in Pisces natally, folks, you guys are done with your Saturn return. Pat yourself on the back. You freaking did it. By February 13th, you are done. Seriously, take stock and look back at the whole of your Saturn in Pisces journey, because you will have it again in about 30 years. And so having notes on that will be incredibly helpful the next time around. Just know that each time it's a lot lighter. Now, for everyone else, you know, Saturn in Aries, natally, not natally, we want to pay attention to any days that, again, this Saturn ingresses, it stations direct. Again, as we hit those dates in the future, I will let you know about them, especially because Saturn in Aries, it doesn't like being here. It's in its fall. You know, Saturn is very slow, mature, responsible, and Aries is youthful and fast. And so those two don't get along together very well. So they butt heads here a lot. And so I'm just going to give you the dates now. So if you care to put them that far out on your calendar, you can. But just know that the Saturn station dates are going to be July 26th, 2026, December 10th, 2026, August 12th, 2027, and December 23rd, 2027. So those are going to be like the real tough dates that really show you what Saturn is doing in Aries. So we want to pay attention to those. Now, not only in your life, but we want to pay attention to them globally. This is really important for us in the US because, and I did not like this when I heard it, apparently Saturn in Aries has coincided with gun control in the US, themes of gun control. It's also coincided with the Bill of Rights, which, you know, think about all the amendments in the Bill of Rights and how literally they are getting infringed upon. And it's like not even just like a theory anymore of, oh, could that be happening? It's literally happening. And so this concerns me of the next 2.5 years of like, okay, 2.5 years, we're probably going to see gun control issues. We're probably going to see the basic foundation of what our country was built upon, our Bill of Rights, be really challenged over those next couple years. And again, those 4 date swoops that I just gave you are all going to be real pivotal, huge dates for those. So at the very least, definitely write down what happens for you on that date, so that you can understand what Saturn is coming in to teach you in your house of Aries. You know, that one was tough for me because I had basically, when Saturn had moved into Aries last May, at the end of May, I had just gotten into a big car crash. We were dealing with like the aftermath of that. And I was like in between new cars, and I'd just been sold a new car that didn't work. And that weekend I was on the phone demanding a new car that worked. And we ended up getting it, and it's the car that I currently have. And, you know, 8th house, loans, other people's money, which I had to get a new car. So yeah, those are kind of the big themes that I wrote down around that time. So we'll see a furthering of that story. Now, right on the heels of Saturn ingressing into Aries, we have our first eclipse in Aquarius. So this is a new cycle of eclipses that we are starting. Now the other eclipse that's going to happen in early March is not an eclipse in Leo. So normally eclipses happen right opposite of each other. But the nodes are what determines the eclipses. Oh, and of course, Leo, Aquarius. But the nodes haven't fully moved and shifted. So the one in March is going to be a Virgo one. So we're going to have a Leo eclipse in August. Again, that's the one we're going to be in Ireland for. Now, I want to mention that I am actually keeping a running document of all the major eclipses and what's happening globally and just what's happening for me so I can keep track of everything. And it's on the Psychic Development Society in the predictions vault. So you are more than welcome to come look at all of the events that I am tracking because I'm tracking them for my political podcasts. And so yeah, I'll be throwing in anything that happens there because I used to be like, oh my gosh, I have to write down everything and then recap it in a podcast. And it was like so long and I was like, why don't I just put it in an Excel document? Oh my God. So that's what I'm doing now. So you can go back and look at all the past Virgo ones as well, Virgo Pisces ones. I think I even tracked the Aries and Libra ones as well. So let me tell you where this is happening in your chart. Again, eclipses happen, yes, in the that area, like that house, but it also happens in the other one as well. So it kind of does like both. So it does like a teeter-totter effect. So this Aquarius eclipse, if you are in Aries, is happening in your 11th house, Taurus your 10th house, Gemini your 9th, Cancer your 8th, Leo your 7th, Virgo your 6th, Libra your 5th, Scorpio 4th, Sagittarius 3rd, Capricorn 2, Aquarius 1st, Pisces 12th. And again, whatever number I gave you, just take the one on the opposite of that wheel as well. So for me, this is going to be the first series of eclipse in my 6th and 12th house. And so I have to kind of look at those themes, okay, health and daily routine juxtaposed with my mental health and like, you know, my inner world. And eclipses are major endings and major beginnings. They're new cycles, are huge. We often see people rise to power and fall from power. Literally, the last eclipse cycle in September, we saw all sorts of people, like famous people, like dying, you know, getting canceled, all sorts of stuff. And this Aquarius eclipse is also, it's ruled by Saturn. And it's going to be looking to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction right here. So my point here is what I'm going to talk about here in a second with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. It's just going to highlight that even more. Again, this is a precursor as well for what's happening in August. So pay attention. So if you want to know what's happening. Now this one is a little bit crazier because it's also squaring Uranus. I forgot to put my moon down. Hang on. Well, here's the moon. There's the sun. It's also squaring Uranus. So that means there's like, again, unexpected things happening with this eclipse. So for me, it could be unexpected health stuff, things with my pets with the 6th house, workplace job changes. I could be starting a new health routine. It's like, and next, because this eclipse is also here with Pluto in Aquarius, it's kind of lighting up the Pluto and Aquarius themes. Pluto and Aquarius is like AI. It's been associated a lot with like the large groups of companies that have control over, very small condensed companies that have control over large groups of people. It's like the monopolies, it's just think all of the companies that we all pretty much like hate right now. Amazon, them taking more control, them having more power, Tesla, Elon. So like not only is it like activating with this eclipse those themes, but the Pluto return of the US, which is happening this summer. I'll get to that in July. I'm going to get to that sooner in my next political podcast, but it's huge. So this, in a way, is also telling us a little bit of what's going to happen in July, which I'm a little nervous about. Yeah, this is a powerful eclipse. There's a lot happening. Like the fact that it's square Uranus, it's co-present with Pluto in Aquarius, and it's ruled by Saturn, and it's activating this. It's a mess, y'all. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be crazy. Just know that going into it. Oh, and on this day is the Lunar New Year as well. So it's the year of the wood horse as well. Yeah, more people should go find their local Asian American, Islander, Pacific groups and communities and go celebrate, because they have dragon dances. They have some really cool things that they do around the Lunar New Year, and it's such a fun way to celebrate. I usually go every year to a local center, and we watch the dragon dances, and we eat the food, and it's a blast. My kids love it. I feel like in the spiritual community, like the more of the Asian divination methods, they just don't get respected as much, and honestly, I find them just as accurate as some of the other ones out there. And so I think looking into the year of the horse, the year of the wood horse, and some of the themes, and knowing some of the astrology coming up, I'm like, yep, that's spot on. I'll share more of that when it gets closer on my Instagram stories. February 18th, it's Pisces season. Sun moves into Pisces. It's my birthday month. I feel like I'm not going to be celebrating my birthday. I'm going to be, I don't know, this month seems like a lot. Saturn conjunct Neptune. And this sucker is at 0 degrees. So last year, you guys saw me share some graphs. In August, it went like a 1 degree, almost exact, but it didn't quite go exact. And I took a bunch of notes around what happened at that time. Again, it's in that Excel document. Apologies, it was in July. Again, just to reiterate, this is the same conjunction as the one that showed up during the McCarthy era when everyone was accused of being a communist. Same one as the Salem witch trials, everyone accused of being a witch. Paranoia, fear, religious groups getting persecuted, really elaborate, crazy fears and scenarios. This is also the one that has like power vacuums where, you know, a ruler falls and people kind of like jump onto taking over. It's also associated with pandemics, which the measles has 100% been in alignment with this Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Definitely pay attention to the measles as this happens. Usurpings have happened on this conjunction. Building walls, tearing down walls, new religions being built, redrawing borders. Some of the quick things that have happened on these past conjunctions. The last one, 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Literally, the resurgence of the measles happened in 1989. The advent of the internet, the satanic panic was in 1989. Like, there's so many correlations and it goes so far back. I listened to a literal 8-hour podcast and I took notes on it. I'll point out the things that I think are important, but just know that there's so much more. The biggest thing is that it has huge ties with Russian history. And Ukrainian history. Yeah, and we had a preview of this at the end of May in 2025, the peak of it in July of 2025. What's crazy is that Xi Jinping and Putin have this conjunction in their birth chart. So that basically means there's going to be huge news around the two of them this month. In the past, this has also coincided with a 1953 CIA-backed coup to oust the Iranian Shah. And literally, we are headed in that direction. I mean, I would not be surprised if the U.S. literally does something to Iran around this date, because literally back in April, May, this is when the US like attacked Iran, and then backed off. Also, weirdly enough, it has a lot of ties to Greenland. Apparently, like when we relinquished control to Greenland in 1917, apparently the guys at the Astrology podcast just recently figured this out. I went and looked at this conjunction geodetically on the map. I found that it goes through LA, it goes through Seattle, and the whole West Coast. So I'm thinking that the peak energy of this might be happening over there. I am seeing Seattle already way more in my news feed. So I'm imagining some of these uprisings, this flashpoint, trigger point might happen over there. I did have a dream of a building in Seattle collapsing. I don't know if this is happening around this time, but I had that months and months ago. I put it on the vault in the Psychic Development Society. Again, with Saturn, Neptune, there's just peak confusion here. It's hysteria. Be careful with contracts. Be careful what you're getting yourself into. Everything is foggy. It's not clear what things are and what things are not. The real versus fake, you just can't trust what you see. It's often associated with the collapse of new world orders, empires, literally ending on this. Like, this is huge stuff. I don't know if it's gonna like all collapse in a day, but literally the Berlin Wall, it collapsed. The physical wall collapsed on that day, and then it took some time to kind of unravel, but that was the start, and this won't happen again until 1961. And what's crazy is that if you were born in 1989, because this is the last time this conjunction happens, and anybody that's born on this time is going to have it in their chart as well, they're going to have huge life-changing things happen. I'm a little worried about my husband. He has this. He was born in 89. This is baked into his chart. And who also had this baked into their charts? Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And they were both 37. And that's just wild to me. This is also associated with AI, and AI on these conjunctions, it's kind of like we can't tell what's real and what's not with AI, and it keeps getting better and better. This conjunction in 1917 was also when World War I was started. It was triggered by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Lots of uprisings, secret pacts, rulers falling, people taking over their place. I don't doubt we're going to see something like this happen in February at all. With Greenland, with Iran, with Ukraine, with the US, like all of it. Israel is also part of this mix as well. Oh, and China. And one last thing I want to say about this Saturn-Neptune conjunction is that, interestingly enough, this time period, like, pay attention to the millennials, because what's kind of happening here is that the difficult part and the good news, good news about this month, is that the Pluto and Leo generation this month and this last month, they're having a hard time. And the reason for that is because Pluto is opposite. I mean, this next 20 years with Pluto being opposite their natal Pluto is so difficult for them, because it's just asking them to be pushed and pulled in ways that are so not natural for them. And what's happening is that specifically around this time and in July a little bit, what's happening is that millennials, which are the Pluto and Scorpio generation, they're making a square to all of what's happening. Pluto and Scorpio generation is squaring Aquarius, it's squaring Leo. So millennials are they're pushing back on this older generation, which, if you are listening and you are a Pluto in Aquarius, I am not whatsoever insinuating that you are an awful person. Please do not take it that way. I've had so many people take offense. What I am saying is like the bad guys that are in power, these old people in Congress that are holding on to power that should have relinquished it, that have these monopolies, that are controlling all the money, that are making it so that millennials are poor and broke and hoarding all of this money. There is something that happens this February and this July around this conjunction specifically where it starts something in motion. I'm not saying it fixes everything by any means, but there's some sort of inciting incident that we can look back on and be like, when that thing happened, that's the start of when things turned around for millennials. Because there's something about this Saturn and Neptune conjunction for millennials that actually moves us better into wealth. And I don't know how, but I do know that this is happening. And I know that in July there's a configuration, and I've talked about this, I think in my 2026 forecast, about how it closes the gap a little bit more between the rich and the poor. And again, there's something that happens here with millennials, specifically Pluto and Scorpio generation, which are the same exact generation as the founding fathers of America. Pluto and Scorpio, we are the revolutionaries that mirror that founding father generation, which I think is incredibly powerful. Now, it's not anywhere near over. We are just getting started. But there's something that happens this month that starts whatever it is that gets resolved many years down the line. I think what we will be realizing in February is, oh shit, this is not going to be done anytime soon. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, we're going to just kick Trump out in 2 months and we're going to vote for a new president and everything's going to be all right by August. And I'm just like, oh, no, I don't think so. This goes on for many years. And February is the month where a lot of this gets started. And I hate to break it to you, but this is not going to be over anytime soon. The U.S. is about to enter into a civil war and very, very likely a world war. And I'm trying to say it as gently as I can, but I'm going to be saying it more often to get people used to it, because I don't sugarcoat what I'm getting. You're always welcome to tune out and tune away, but it's so obvious and so clear to me now, and I have to honor these messages that I'm getting or I will not receive them anymore. And I truly cross-reference the astrology with my psychic abilities, with my dreams, with like pulling cards, also with like the geopolitics of, what I learned from my partner and the smart people around me, as well as like doing very logical, analytical research. And I pull a lot of this together to try to give you the most, the best approach that I give. Because February is when it starts, the summer is where it gets ugly, and it's not going to stop for at least 7 years. And all of us need to wake up and be prepared, and that's what February is teaching us. So yeah, ultimately, with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, just know there's a lot of confusion also in this department, in this house for you. Don't sign any contracts. Don't sign up for anything. Lots of confusion. This confusion will fully fade away by March 27th. So it'll finally separate far enough that you won't feel the effects of that anymore. I mean, not as much, I should say. Oh my goodness, I knew I forgot something. The 15th, the sun is going to square Uranus. Again, just more prepare for the unexpected. Curveballs, sudden disruptions, things coming out of left field. All right, and as if that weren't enough, February 25th, you're getting that Mercury stationing retrograde. So Mercury is starting to move backwards. Mercury retrograde, delays, miscommunication, tech issues, People are super confused. Sometimes people from your past come back up. You find lost things. Usually with Mercury retrogrades, the pattern is you take action on something, you encounter a problem, and then you got to go redo it again. This Mercury retrograde, coming off the heels of this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, people are just going to be extra confused. All right, and then last but not least, one of them, again, more arguably rough parts of this month is on the 27th. We have our final Uranus square, and this time it's Uranus square Mars. Don't like this one because this one is sudden disruptive violence. It can be associated with assassination, surprise attacks, guerrilla warfare, civil unrest, back-to-back news, like things just like next. New technology being used, technology breaking. I guess for some reason this is really close to Trump's natal Mars. So this might be a really important date for him. I feel like usually the ones that I give less time to in these videos are the ones that inevitably that are stronger and crazier. And so maybe that's going to be one of them. Yeah, towards the end of the month. I mean, there's a really positive conjunction also on the 27th between Venus and Mercury. And it's going to kind of come help fix some of the delays that you're having with Mercury retrograde. But otherwise, that's the end of February. I'm just double checking I didn't miss anything. Essentially, though, when are we in between? On the 24th, though, because from here to here, this is one eclipse. And so from here to there, that's another week. So that's 1 week, that's another week. And then we'll have, March 3rd, and that will be our next eclipse. So, as we're nearing the end of February, we are so close to that next eclipse. It's not like, oh, the energy's chill. We are ramping up to the next eclipse, and that next eclipse is in Virgo. However, you should be familiar with that eclipse energy, because that eclipse on March 3rd, I'll just give you a precursor, that's going to be in Virgo. And we've already had Virgo eclipses happen, so it's not unfamiliar. And if you want to know the global events that have happened, again, go to that Excel document because I've kept track of them. Honestly, that's the one that I've kept track of that has always coincided with Greenland. The Saturn-Neptune one has coincided with Greenland. This one's coincided with Greenland, so something's definitely happening there. I feel like I'm supposed to just look at this because it's probably going to happen before we even get to the next podcast, or the next forecast. Oh yeah. Lots of association with ice being in cities. The last time it was all the Charlie Kirk stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more stuff happening with Turning Point USA. Definitely more of a huge polarization between Americans. Free speech being attacked. Again, last time it was attacking all the networks. It could be a furthering of that. I'm already seeing the ramping up of attacking journalists. Oh yeah, duh. And the Epstein files. Because, yeah. Also Luigi. TikTok. This thing is massive, so you're welcome to go look at it. Oh, and the very first one, Trump's ear being shot. I mean, for sure, our global alliances are eroding 100%. I will tell you the things that I'm going to talk about in that podcast. I am probably going to be speaking to how I believe that, again, it's not just going to be civil war. We're going to be in conflict with other people. I don't think that's going to look like World War III in the sense of what World War II and World War I look like. I don't think it's going to look the same. However, I do think we are going to be involved. We're going to be the instigator. I think we're going to get involved with Taiwan. I think we're going to get involved with China. I think after this month, I'm going to have a much clearer picture on whether Russia is completely falling, which is what it looks like is happening right now. And ultimately, I'm kind of wondering if the states are honestly going to be seceding, and like if we are going to be reorganizing as a country, because not only are we having our Pluto return, our Uranus return, all of these major reoccurrences that coincide with like literally our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, bringing up all these major themes again. And it makes me wonder, like, how much of these will be rewritten, redone, abolished. I hope it's all for the better. One thing that I keep taking away from a lot of these podcasts is that usually when we go into these wars, we go in with one idea, and what we get out of the other end often is not what we came in with, but it ends up being for the better. I'm definitely going to be talking about tech and surveillance, and how huge that is, how worried I am about that. We have some really volatile conjunctions coming up. They're called Mars-Uranus conjunctions that I've also been researching. And the first of that happens on July 4th of all dates. So I'm going to be going over what that is. If you want to know ahead of time, precursor, don't schedule any July 4th plans. Just don't this year. So yeah, as we go through February, I want you to remember one thing. People have been through these things before and they have come out the other side, and we will do the exact same. Again, remember to take time away from your screens, get some space, find community. And if the only community you have is coming on to the Psychic Development Society, please go ahead and do that. We are here. Take care of yourselves. I hope that I am wrong on a lot of this, but I don't think I will be. Because again, I didn't say this episode, but a lot of these predictions come from astrologers that I follow. I'm starting to get the hang of it, and I can read these things and sort of understand, but I have to give credit that a lot of this is other astrologers' knowledge, and not always fully my own. And my point there being just that, I trust the people that I follow to fill in the blanks of maybe where I mess up. And if you're feeling like you want to move out of the US, just know you can reach out to me for an astrocartography reading, or if you want to just schedule a vacation to get out, feel free to join me in Ireland this August. You can get a break from it all. All right, buckle up. Happy February. I'll see you in March. Alrighty, bye.